C5 Insight is a Microsoft partner that plans, builds, and supports solutions in Dynamics 365, Teams, SharePoint, and the Power Platform. Contact us to modernize your business today.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us for today's webinar on getting your organization AI ready. For our speakers today, we have Jeff Abels from C5 Insight, and we're excited to also be having Aastha Patel join us from Microsoft, who is the digital technical specialist and will be part of the Q&A as well. So if you have specific questions related to Microsoft and Copilot specifically, then she is here for that.
Hi, everyone. Aastha Patel here. So kind of wanted to walk you through the slides. If you've lived through any of these digital transformations, you know how impactful they were. Personally, I was not even around for the first one, but I've heard the stories of the PCs being out and the internet being out, and it's almost impossible to imagine running a business without them now. So each of these shifts disrupted industries, forced companies to reinvent themselves, and left some others behind. But today, most organizations see themselves somewhere around the "you are here" mark on the screen in their 3.0 digital transformation. So some might say they haven't reached the halfway point yet, while the others feel like they're almost done. But what we're consistently hearing is, regardless of where they think they are, is that they suddenly feel that they're behind. They're not fully prepared for the AI revolution, and many are unsure where to get started or how to tackle the challenges ahead. And that's a tough spot to be in, because what we're seeing with AI and what we'll dive into here today is the potential it has to be as transformative as all of these past digital revolutions combined. And just like before, the companies that navigate this shift effectively will come out ahead. So the real question is, how do we get ready for this? What are the organizations experiencing success doing right? And what can we learn from companies that have successfully navigated past transformations? And that's exactly what we're going to explore today. And with that, I'll pass it over to Jeff.
All right, thank you so much, Aastha. So I actually want to start today trying something different, and this is my first time trying this live, so hopefully this will work out well. I want to get introduced to you all. You've heard a little bit about Aastha and I, but we'd like to know where you are on your AI journey, whether it's AI in general or Microsoft Copilot. So I'm going to ask you to take this quick survey. The way you do it is you can just scan the QR code with your phone if you want to, or you can type in that rather, unfortunately, long URL into a browser window. But go ahead and get started with that while I'll chat here for a minute about what's on here, because I'd like to find out, are you using AI of any type at all in your business? Are you using an AI but it's not Copilot? Are you using just the free version of Copilot? Are you using M365 paid Copilot? Are you using Copilot for sales and or service? And are you doing custom Copilot agents in Copilot Studio? And by the way, there's a final answer. If you're not sure, that's perfectly fair. Depending on what's going on in your organization, you may not know. So I see at least a few people have weighed in here. I'm going to chat here for another couple of seconds, and hopefully every person on the phone will have time to scan that QR code or type in that URL. And by the way, you can select all the answers that apply to you so we can see quickly where you are. Okay, so officially 11% of people come from organizations where you don't have any AI going on at all. We're definitely going to talk about that and how to get started. And then we have a lot of people who are already on Microsoft 365 Copilot, a few who are out there advanced doing things in Copilot Studio. Thank you. It looks like everybody's starting to weigh in here. This is awesome. So it's great to see we've got about 50% of people, it looks like, are using some version of Copilot. And then a smattering of others are potentially using maybe just the free version or the advanced Copilot Studio version. So wherever you are on this journey, wherever you were on this survey, you're in the right place, because it is a journey and there's steps to take. Some of you have taken the first step that we'll talk about. Some might have even taken the second, but probably not the third and fourth. So we're going to share all 4 of those steps with you. And we're going to do this with this agenda. We're going to cover 2 realities and 2 myths of AI that not many people are really talking about. And all the buzz and excitement, we're kind of getting both extremes, either way off the charts excited, doing a lot, or way off the charts negative. And as in all things in life, the reality is somewhere is a balance between the 2 of those. And we're going to wrap up the session with a little bit of an expert roundtable. So if you have questions, as Haley mentioned up front, please post those in the Q&A. Aastha and I will have a little roundtable and be able to answer some of those questions, as well as a few others that were submitted before the session started. All right, so let's dive in. Reality number one is this: AI really will impact virtually every job role over the next 2 to 4 years. Everything from the executive suite to the surgical operating room to waste pickup on your front curb to the manufacturing floor to the sales team. Every job we can imagine is going to be affected, and probably affected significantly, by the capabilities of AI. So you may be familiar with some of these stats. They're pretty powerful. You might have heard them. Some of you, since you're already using Copilot, you might already know these to probably be true based on your own experience. But what we're running into is leaders might be skeptical. They may not be convinced yet. And look, we've gone through a lot of air quotes around digital transformations that maybe didn't end the way they expected them to. So it's understandable that there's some folks who might be a little jaded, might have a little bit more of a wait and see perspective on things. However, things are moving fast, and wait and see might be a deadly strategy right now. So let's provide a little more evidence. I want to show you a few things that Copilot can do in jobs right now, and some things happening in the future. And by the way, you might have noticed on the introductory slide to Aastha and I, we're going to have just a few little video demos we're going to show you today. The dark ones are ones for today. The ones that are not highlighted are ones you can watch later. So ask for the slides afterwards if you want to rewatch any of these little demo videos I play, or you want to go watch the ones we don't have time to look at today. You'll be able to get those on the slides. But I want to start just by looking at how many people in your organization might be affected by just using AI in meetings. Bear with me if you're one of those Microsoft 365 Copilot folks who already know this power, but I'm always shocked at how many people don't already have experience realizing how much AI can do just in the context of meetings we have every day. So let's see how Copilot AI can be your partner, your assistant in every meeting you have.
Copilot is available to me before, during, and after every Microsoft Teams meeting. If I miss a meeting, Copilot provides a recap, including AI-taken notes and follow-up tasks, so I never miss out. I can also ask for details about the meeting, get updates if I'm running late, and even use it during meetings to summarize key points. These features are game changers for busy professionals.
Now, if you've been using Copilot for a while, that might already sound like, wow, that's boring. That's yesterday's news. But I can tell you about a year ago, that was this amazing breakthrough thing that's available. And I can tell you, it changed the way we do everything. I hardly take notes at all anymore. And I am an avid and I think a reasonably good note taker. But now I can actually have more meetings that are more productive and generate more knowledge for follow-up meetings more rapidly than I ever could before. It really is a game changer for me. I can also tell you, I even do things like Jordan is with us today. Jordan does a lot of sessions with our clients, walking through a proof of value with them and giving them some training. I can't always be in those meetings, but I'll often jump into the meeting without anyone even realizing it. They don't see me as a participant. And I can start asking Copilot about, hey, this meeting is in progress. How is it going? Is there any positive or negative feedback? All of those things are suddenly available to me now through the power of AI. And that's just one small capability out of many, many others. Now let's take a look just a little ways further into the future. What might Copilot be able to do for us in just a few months' time? Take a look at this.
As a sales rep, you spend hours on manual tasks like researching leads and writing personalized emails. That's precious time that could be spent closing deals. Say hello to Sales Qualification Agent, your new AI agent that helps you prioritize leads and drive better business outcomes. Let's see how it works with Dynamics 365 Sales. The agent autonomously researches leads in your pipeline 24/7. It analyzes multiple data sources and flags the hottest prospects for you. With just one click, you can learn why a particular lead is prioritized based on research data synthesized from CRM records, third-party data, and public web sources. When you're ready to reach out, the agent has already drafted a personalized email. A quick review, a couple edits, and you are ready to hit send. And just like that, you're ready to move on to the next prioritized lead. With the sales qualification agent, you'll never miss a beat. More meetings, more deals, more wins.
Now that is just one AI agent out of many that Microsoft is introducing. That's going to be available for preview in March. Full release is scheduled for the month of July. The idea of an agent is a Copilot that can do more than just listen and summarize information for you, but can actually do things for you. It can add tasks to your agenda. It can arrange meetings for you. It can update data in your systems. It can send you alerts and emails. All sorts of things you might be doing yourself, it can start doing for you. And that can be across many, many job roles. I chose the sales job role because it actually resonates with me. I tend to try to follow up with almost everybody who comes to these sessions or my other live events, and it is unbelievably time consuming to go through and try to look at all the information and establish a meeting and all of those kinds of things. AI agents are going to be able to do more and more of that work for me. I'd also point out to you the video here that's not darkened that I'd like for you to watch on your own: sight, sound, and voice. Already, AI has the capability to hear what we want it to hear, to see what we want it to see all around our environment, and to speak directly to us. If you take a little bit of time to get your head around that capability as it gets introduced to our workplaces, I believe that will absolutely change everything. When you can walk into a meeting and maybe you've got a wearable on that's seeing and hearing and you've got it activated or not, and it can immediately tell you who is where in the meeting and what you know about that person and what you might need to bring up. It can be in your ear helping you remember what questions to ask based on things that are coming up over time. You might even say, hey, AI, I actually want you to be an active participant in this meeting. Don't just say something when you're called upon, but actually participate and bring ideas in and help make sure that we're doing things the way that we need to, following processes and procedures. The list is endless. This really is where it will affect every job role. It can do it now. It's just not fully integrated into our work environments. Take a little bit of time to watch that 1-minute video. It is very, very powerful. So let's look at this another way. Humans, human relationships, and sharing knowledge are what drives success in every business, right? It's people that make our businesses growing, profitable, and great places to work. And that really breaks down into 4 things. People listen, not just to people, but even to things and events. As we saw in some of those demos, that includes listening to customers and coworkers, and also to content and data in our systems, and even to the things around us, like inventory, traffic patterns, and body language. Then, as humans, we also understand. We transform that raw information into knowledge and decisions. Using all of that, we can form connections, right? That knowledge helps us make better decisions and have more relevant relationships with our fellow human beings, get better things done, following consistent processes and procedures. And finally, knowing, always being aware of the results and seeking to continuously improve. We at C5 Insight call this human-centric approach to business powered by luck. Now, as humans, we do these things naturally. But as business has gotten increasingly technology-centric, it's actually limited or hurt our ability to be engaged human beings. Just look at these things that we have to engage in to kind of network with our machines every day, right? Instead of just listening, we're keying and rekeying information into multiple different systems. Instead of taking the time to deeply understand, we're spending a lot of time searching for, trying to find things, running reports, researching so that we can ultimately connect. But that research is something that's manual that we have to do ourselves. And then we're actually more and more isolated as human beings, not less isolated. We're behind those computer screens, behind our mobile phones, even behind our social networks and things like Microsoft Teams. Things that are made to help us create better human relationships sometimes are getting in the way of doing that. And then instead of taking the time to really know and continuously improve, we've gotten comfortable and stuck in this rut of being reactive in our jobs day in and day out. Probably every single person on this call can understand that. I know I can. I probably spend 80 to 95% of my time reacting. And if I could actually spend more of my time being proactive and getting ahead of things and improving, it would actually substantially advance everybody around me, including myself and the company I work for. The good news, AI has the potential to take over these dehumanizing tasks and unleash us to be more powered by luck than ever before. In other words, we can become truly people-centric, or we can super-humanize our businesses. And then we can realize the full ROI of unleashing people to do the things that only people can do. Pretty cool that basically what we're trying to do as humans, AI actually has the ability to do as well. And by doing those things well, it will unleash us from those repetitive, dehumanizing tasks that it can handle, and it can unleash us to be the best humans we can be. So that all sounds great. What does that actually translate into? Here's one case study. This is a global health manufacturing company. They recently conducted a proof of value in Copilot. And based on the average time reinvested in their core responsibilities alone, this company showed an annual ROI of about $14.40 per user using Copilot. In their case, that translates into about $675,000. They also showed that 93% of their users actually said Copilot improved the quality of their work. So it wasn't just about doing more faster, it was actually doing more better and faster. What surprised us about this particular one, it's the first time we asked this question, we wanted to see, could people actually do things that they wouldn't have otherwise done? 67% of people said they're doing new things in Copilot they either wouldn't have the time or the skill to do themselves. And 94% of the participants said, this is a game changer. I want to keep using this, and I suggest others in the company keep using it as well. So summarizing all that, the first step to this is get vision and buy-in. How do you start to get your organization to understand what a game changer this is and start to buy into the next steps? Few things I can suggest to you here. Art of the possible experience. If you're one of those that said, we don't have anything internally within our company at all, we need somebody to help us get the vision, start with an art of the possible demo experience. Microsoft can do that for you. C5 Insight can do that for you. If you've got a Microsoft partner, they can do that for you. There's also some great upcoming events. You're here today. That's great. In a couple of weeks, on March 6th, we're going to have another event called Ali is My Copilot. Remember I had talked about see, hear, speak? You're actually going to hear AI co-present the session. It's unbelievably powerful, and that's a game-changing session that a lot of leaders have come to and walked away from saying, that was a wow moment. We need to get on top of this right away. Coming up later in March in San Diego, California is the AI Agent and Copilot Summit. Well worth taking your time to attend. And then coming up in about 6 months, September in Denver, Colorado, is the summit just for leaders, the influencers, the visionaries, the planners who want to take their company forward. That's called 365 Leadership Summit. And it covers all of digital transformation, including Copilot and AI. Great events to sign up for. There's a link there where you can go learn more about those to help your whole company start taking those steps forward to at least say, even if we're not using this yet, let's get started with at least having vision around it. All right, let's switch from reality to a myth. There is a myth out there for many that, hey, there are prerequisites we have to go through before getting started with AI. That 11 or 12% of you who said we're not doing much with AI yet, you might be a victim of this myth. We run into a lot of organizations out there who say we're planning, we're working on security, we're cleaning up data. All those things are good, and all of those are part of your AI journey, to be clear. However, there's a tremendous amount of value you can begin to get right away before you go through all those different steps. So let's talk about those real quickly. First of all, I'm not going to play any of the videos on this one, but here are more videos for you. Remember, there are tons of immediate use cases where you can get value out of Copilot right out of the box right away. Whether it's the free Copilot or one of the paid Copilots, there's all sorts of use cases for you. Meetings are something we all do every day. Authoring and reviewing documents is something most of us do every day. Answering questions about the data and content floating all around our organization. Those are things that most of our people have to do every day, whether it's an SOP for someone working on the manufacturing floor or a legal document review because you've got to reply back to a supplier on an agreement that they've just sent you. There's 3 videos you can go watch to say there are things we can do right away. We don't need to do a lot of pre-planning to do this. We can get started with a modest amount of training to get our users up to speed. Those 3 are a very small sample. We at C5 Insight have identified over 100 out-of-the-box Copilot use cases ready to go. This slide summarizes them. We've got a link in the slides you can hit if you want to download all 100 of those in ebook format so you can get in there and start learning more about them and experimenting with them. Once you get past just playing with it, you can also do what we call a proof of value project. That's this idea of saying, let's structure this. Let's not just buy licenses and tell people to go play. That doesn't usually get much traction. Let's actually have a disciplined, focused 6-week proof of value program with training each week, Ask Me Anything with experts, surveys about the results, ride-alongs to see how people are doing, and a final executive briefing to prove out the value. You've already seen one case study of the results of that. Here's another case study of results of another organization that did a proof of value study where they basically said, after doing this, we actually decided to go buy 600 Copilot licenses for the sellers in our organization because the value they were getting out of Copilot was cost justified within days of the time they began engaging with it, and it only increased over time. So step 2 is this idea of, yes, you've gotten your vision, but get started right now. Copilot Chat, that's available for free to anybody that has Microsoft 365. The real power is connecting Copilot to your own corporate data using Microsoft 365 Copilot, Copilot for Sales or Service, or Copilot Studio, the blue highlighted things there. In the little image on the left of the slide, you can see the Copilot experience embedded in Microsoft Teams. If you have paid for a Microsoft 365 subscription, you will see the Work Web slider at the top that lets you switch between web data, grounded in the web and not your internal data, and work data, grounded in what's available on the open internet. If you haven't purchased that, you just won't see that slider. And that means your Copilot is grounded in web data. Either way, it's incredibly powerful what you can do with it immediately. It's even more powerful once you buy the licenses and ground it into your own data. But they're also both completely secure. So you can get started with it right away, and you don't have to worry too much about in-depth security analysis. Like I said, that's on your journey, that's on your roadmap, but it's not what you need to start building a vision and getting excited and getting moving forward. Okay, last segment here, I'm going to deal with the last 2 steps with both a reality and a myth. Reality number 2 is this. You do need to have an up-to-date digital transformation for the foundation of your AI transformation. What I mean by that is a lot of organizations are now getting excited about AI. They haven't finished their digital transformation, but it's the next shiny thing. And they're leaving this incomplete digital transformation project or program aside and leap into AI. And really, all the things you need as a foundation for your AI: clean data, secure systems, well-organized content, skilled users. All of those are still part of your AI journey. The nice opening slide that Aastha shared with you, Digital 3.0, kind of needs to be complete before you can start getting fully on board with AI. You don't have to get all of it complete, but when you think about your plan, that needs to be part of your plan. And then the second myth. It's an old myth. We've been fighting it for our over 20 years that we've been in business at C5 Insight. And that's the myth of, if you build it, they will come. This is so great and so powerful and so natural that once your team sees it, they'll just gravitate to it, adopt it, and it will change everything. That has been wrong for every digital transformation, from CRM to modern intranets to business intelligence to big data and now to AI. We're going to talk about what to do about both of those things. So you've finished your, let's call it proof of value, your step 2, right? You've gotten in, you've played with it some. Maybe your users are excited about it. Maybe you've worked with some of these different Copilots as you've done that. Now, you have 2 great outputs as a result of that. The first is knowledge. You have more insight into how AI works and how it can create value across your business. What you want to do is you want to transform that knowledge into a plan so you're fully AI ready. You've only just started that. It's not going to happen for you automatically. The second thing you've achieved is momentum. You've got a small group of users who are excited. They have some training, they're excited, and they're informed because they've had a bit of training. But you will lose that momentum if you don't keep it up. So you want to also say, what is our plan to keep momentum, continue driving adoption, expanding usage, while also building out that roadmap? So we call the blue path, the roadmap path, vision and planning, the green path, the change path, developing what we call a center of excellence. Let's talk about each.
Struggling to leverage Microsoft Enterprise solutions? At C5 Insight, we understand the intersection between technology, business, and people. Contact us to learn more.
Step 3 is your roadmap, getting yourself AI ready. That's the title of this session, but remember there's some other steps before the roadmap itself. Harvard Business Review tells us that over 80% of organizations are weak when it comes to digital leadership and management. That does not mean they don't have digital tools. What that does mean is that their leaders and managers don't know how to use the tools to be better leaders and managers. They think of these as technical tools for the front lines, but not for me. I'm a leader, I'm a manager. My skills are a little more soft. These don't really affect me. But for the 20% of organizations who are strong in that area, they're enjoying faster growth. What's the secret of those 20% of those organizations? Well, according to Harvard Business Review, this is the secret. They have a roadmap. They've put a vision and a plan together to drive those results, and a coach that helps them as leaders and managers become digital leaders and digital managers. And by the way, this article is a few years old before AI became the big thing, but these truths in this article hold true for every single digital transformation, including the one that we're right at the beginning of right now. So I talked about the foundation for a good AI transformation or AI roadmap is completing your digital transformation. At C5 Insight, we've kind of laid this out across 4 kind of phases, maybe an in-between phase there too. And that is very beginning, are you working just with, you still paper-based some? Middle, have you started going to file servers and personal computers, some server-based software, but your adoption is still kind of low. Advanced, you've made the journey to the cloud. You have mobile access to everything. Your internal communications have evolved so much that you're not even using email anymore for internal comms. Most of that's happening through other digital communication tools. But your systems might still feel a little complex. The data might not be fully clean. They may not be fully integrated yet. Your users might complain about that they're context switching a lot. Maybe your systems of record are defined, but they're not as sharply defined as you'd like. And then, of course, there's mature, where all that's taken care of. Your systems are adopted, they're clean, they're secure, they're well architected. It's easy for people to know where to put things, know where to find things, know how to use technology to do their job. You have that fabled golden customer record, so you can go find everything about the customer in one place. And you've even got this idea of a data warehouse that's well configured and set up so you can easily suss data out of systems. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit more while I ask you to take one more quick step here, and that is tell us about the current state of your digital transformation. Again, hit the QR code or type in the URL, but please participate and help us and your colleagues who are here with you today understand how far along are you on that journey. And by that, I mean, are you in stage 1 or 2? We talked about that. Just beginning? Do you still have a fair amount of paper lying around? Some of you might be rolling your eyes at that, but I can tell you we deal with some organizations that, believe it or not, are still printing emails and putting them into things. Are you in stage 2? Are you in that middle stage where, hey, most of our documents are still in file servers, they're not in the cloud, and user adoption isn't that great? Are you more advanced where you're actually saying, hey, our users are now actually pretty well adopting what we have and we're 100% in the cloud? Or are you, where I see a lot of you answering now, in that middle to advanced stage, right? You're somewhere beyond middle, but you're not really all the way up to advanced. Or is anybody here in the mature stage where you're like, we've really almost finished our digital transformation. Our systems are really tight. We've got great systems of record. Our people have to use a minimum number of them. Integration is strong. They're simple to use and adoption is great. Okay, more answers are rolling in here. This looks great. So surprised how many people are honestly saying that they're in the 50%. That's good to know. You're not alone. As you can see, about half the people who are here today are saying we're in the middle of that digital transformation journey. We've got a lot of progress to go to lay that full foundation to be fully AI ready. Again, that doesn't mean you can't start using AI right away, but it does mean part of that AI roadmap should also be, what does my digital roadmap look like? What does finishing that roadmap look like so I can build out my AI roadmap? Now, when you think about information readiness with your AI roadmap, there's really 2 types of information we think about, and there's 4 parts to getting that information ready. So if we look at the 2 types of information, there's data, right? That's what we typically think of when we think about information. That's rows and columns, right? Spreadsheets and databases, CRM and ERP systems, really nice, tightly structured, rigid systems. But then there's your content, or some people call this knowledge, but that's your unstructured information. That's the information that's in files and sites and chats and communications, such as what's in SharePoint and Teams and Outlook. And as you think about those 2 resources, those 2 information sources, you need to think about 4 different qualities of that information you need to be ready for. I'm not going to read through all the details of the 8 different boxes there. You can look at that on your own. But these are the different points we go through and help to evaluate and plan for as we think about how is that data structured? Because if humans have a hard time understanding structure, AI is going to have a hard time understanding structure too. By structure, I mean, how do you navigate to information that you need to put somewhere or find somewhere? Are you using the best practice ways of how data is set up in your systems, or which we, by the way, call the common data model, or have you done customizations that break that? And you need to think about that. What about the quality of your data? We know 60% or more of corporate data is bad. People say the acronym is RODI. It's data that's redundant, outdated, trivial, inaccurate, or incomplete. Take a look at your CRM system or your collaboration system like SharePoint and Teams. You'll know this is true, right? We are data hoarders and pack rats. We never go clean things up. We just constantly create new things. We have all this garbage. And guess what AI goes and analyzes when it replies to you? All that garbage. What's your plan for cleaning it up? Of course, security is an enormous concern. The good news is you've probably done a fairly good job of securing your systems already. And when it comes to your Microsoft systems, Copilot honors that security as it sources data for you. However, there is a new tier of security you need to think about, because AI may innocently answer questions that were asked innocently that might be based on data that people should not have access to, not because it's a new problem with AI, but because you haven't secured those systems fully. So at some point, it's time to back up and go, hey, people are asking these new questions, and they've got this partner that looks all over the organization, only at what they have permission to see, but sometimes that human wouldn't have thought to go look there themselves, and AI is finding that for them. And of course, your processes to basically say those top 3 things, how do we make sure we don't just do a spring cleaning and then wind up with the same mess again in 2 or 3 years, but how do we have governance and master data management and systems of record so that those things get clean, stay between the lines, so our AI and our people remain highly effective. So that's kind of the assessment part, but here's what a road mapping process looks like when we run it at C5 Insight. Your process should look somewhat similar to that. It should include extensive data gathering as a part of it by listening to people, remember the luck principle, to your data, to your applications, assessment to understand both the current and future state. A lot of this is envisioning. Remember step 2, we're actually getting in and playing with it. That's where you start to build vision, that now you come back and people start to dream about, wow, here's what I think AI can probably do for me that it's not doing yet. Now you have a vision for your next stage of apps you're going to create or you're going to build on top of. They're not going to be old school user interfaces. They're going to be bots in AI, agents in AI that do things for your people. You want to create vision for that so you can start to understand what that future state is. Audits and health check to understand your security. Go back to my last slide for that. Then you want to review all those findings and recommendations at multiple levels, refine them, put final documentation together that includes both a long-term vision, what's our vision for 1.5 years to 3 years out, and short-term project plans for the first 1 to 2 milestones. And remember, a roadmap is not a project plan. It is a living document. You're going to come back to it every year, particularly as we go through this transformation, because we don't know what the end of it is yet. You're going to get smarter about it. It's going to continue to evolve. You're going to want to come back and continue to refine your roadmap. Okay, our final step 4 is, you can call this adoption, you can call this training, you can call it user support. I don't like any of those terms. And the reason I don't like those terms is because they're not broad and encompassing enough. Most organizations, when it comes to digital transformation, fail again and again. And they fail because they think of it as, we gave people training, that's our adoption program. But adoption is much more than that. You can call it change management. I like that term. Center of excellence is a term I like even more because it speaks to a program. It speaks to these things you need to do that you can't really lay out like a project plan because you're constantly monitoring and adjusting based on human behavior and evolving technology. And you don't know what that's going to look like even 6 months from now. So instead, you have a resourced program to help you do that so you don't wind up with this result that 60 to 80% of digital transformation projects wind up with. And again, no matter what that project was, CRM, modern intranet, document management, if you've been around any of those projects, you know most of them you keep clicking the easy button and you realize it's not so easy. It takes work to actually change human behavior to make this happen. That's what a center of excellence is for. Why is that? because digital transformations share these kinds of attributes that are unique in our world, right? This kind of change isn't something oftentimes that people have to do to keep doing their job. It's change they should do to do their job better than they've ever done it before. So there's lots of different pieces of this that aren't like a project, right? It's not like assembling a piece of equipment or something like that. It is something that's constantly moving and evolving, and you've got to stay on top of it and monitor to drive change. The other thing is this: there's misconceptions about how human beings change. One of those misconceptions is, hey, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and I can create a new habit. Well, the average human takes over 60 days to create a new habit, and some humans take many more months than that to do it, 18 to 254 days, according to the European Journal of Social Psychology. But then there's also the how many things are we trying to change at once? Because the human capacity to change is far more limited than our ability to deploy technology. So as you can see with Franklin Covey, basically what they say is the more things we try to do, the more things we try to change, the less things we actually do. Now you may look at this and go, well, it's just Copilot. It's just one more thing. Let's break that one more thing down. It's prompt engineering, and it's prompt engineering in many different contexts. It's a new desktop application. In fact, it's an entirely new type of desktop application, and it requires a new way of thinking. It's not a nice structured user interface where I go and do things in certain boxes to get things done. It is a blank piece of paper, and I ask it questions, and it gives me answers. There's all these different scenarios like prepare for my week, take notes in my meeting, analyze these legal documents, identify my best leads, create an entirely new agent for me. And let's not forget about governance, following your processes and procedures for responsible AI. I love the quote at the top of this. I stole it from someone at Microsoft, but I think this really gets at the heart of the change we're talking about. And that is this: every person in your organization now needs to learn to interact with their new assistant. Everyone would love to have a new assistant, but that assistant is quiet, it's passive unless called upon, it speaks its own language, and you need to learn how to communicate with it and interact with it in a way to suss out the best possible value from it. It's a big deal, and it takes time. There's also Copilot agent governance. So talked about that on the last slide. I talked about that with your overall digital transformation. You need to think about this, particularly when you think about these agents, because I can tell you a year or two from now, probably every organization that's here today will have somewhere between dozens and thousands of little applications running on their servers that are called agents. And they will be doing all sorts of things for their people. In fact, those agents will even be talking to each other. It's this whole new domain of how will we govern that? How will we make sure people aren't doing things they shouldn't do, either intentionally or unintentionally? How will we make sure we're not consuming resources on agents that are out there running that are doing things that no human even cares about or needs anymore? There's a long list of things to think about with that. You need to start thinking about governance in your readiness and in your center of excellence to monitor all that. So bringing all of that together, here's an image of what a center of excellence delivers. It's a combination of proactive, reactive, and project services. It's not one size fits all. You need to understand where you are in your journey and how to move accordingly. Like in general, after maybe an initial training and proof of value phase, you can start with a very light center of excellence, right? Like just provide some ongoing training, maybe some internal communication to keep excitement up, keep things moving along a little bit more. But as you expand and implement your roadmap with custom Copilot agents, your center of excellence is also going to need to expand to handle this load until you've successfully completed that transformation. There's a lot to this. We have a gigantic menu we work through to say exactly what does each organization need to actually effectively manage their center of excellence. How much of that are they doing internally? How much of that are they going to work with a company like C5 Insight to take on in partnership with them? All right, so bringing it all together, we talked about 4 steps. Here's your 4-step program in one slide. By the way, I put 2 options for step 1 here, depending on where you are. One or both of those may make more sense. We've talked about all 4 of the things in our presentation today. Here you can see them all. And I can tell you, these are things you can take home with you with the tips you've gotten out of the session today, including this great link, by the way, at the bottom. That is an article by Boston Consulting Group that essentially talks about everything you see on this slide. So it gives you a lot of good scientific thought leadership expertise backing up this idea of this 4-step plan, just expressed a little bit differently. Whether you do this internally or not, it's a great set of things for you to think about. So you know, our firm, C5 Insight, does offer services in each of these areas designed to drive Copilot vision, buy-in, planning, and adoption. One other thing I want to leave with you, and you can go straight to this link without waiting to get the slides, and that is if you'd like to take a 2-minute AI readiness assessment, you can go hit this link. It's an 8-question survey. You can go through it real quickly, and it can help you understand how AI ready are we as an organization. If you go online and you take that assessment, you can do it right now if you'd like to. We will email you the score after you've done it, and we can chat with you more about what that means and what the next steps might be for you. So I want to thank everybody for bearing with us so far. We're going to open it up to a more interactive round now. Haley is going to facilitate that. So Haley, I'll ask you to jump in and take it away.
Thanks so much, Jeff. So we're going to go ahead and hop into our roundtable discussion with Jeff and Aastha. Can you summarize a few of the different copilots that you find most beneficial, and what do they do? Because if we were to ask you to talk about all of them, we'd be here all day for a whole nother webinar with all of the new Copilot logos and now agents that are coming out.
Yeah, I can take this one. So I like to categorize the copilots in like 3 different pillars. So I start with like the base, which is M365 copilots. So these are going to be the copilots that are embedded into your M365 apps like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, like Outlooks and Teams, right? So they're basically helping users boost productivity, kind of drafting those content, analyzing the data, summarizing emails, generating presentations, and a lot more, right? So essentially, they enhance the day-to-day workflows within the M365 ecosystem. Then we have some of the business copilots that we saw today. So we have those industry-focused or function-specific copilots. So it could be Copilot for sales, Copilot for service. I specifically focus a lot on Copilot for sales. So this is something that integrates with dynamic sales. It can integrate with Salesforce as well. And it's kind of bringing all of that information back into tools like Outlook and Teams. And then third, I like to look at Copilot Studio. So if those plug and play Copilots don't work for you, this is where it allows you to kind of go beyond that and create custom Copilots, right? So we're extending the existing Copilots that we have. So this is where companies can build and tailor AI assistants to really fit their unique needs, whether that's automating internal processes, integrating with third-party systems, or customizing the M365 Copilot and business Copilots for their own specific workflows. So basically, just to summarize that, we have M365 Copilot for productivity apps. We have business Copilots for dynamic and other specialized functions. And then we have Copilot Studio for customization and extensibility. Hopefully that answers the question. Jeff, if there's anything else you want to add to it.
The only thing I would add to it is also Copilot Chat, which is something that's somewhat newly announced from Microsoft, but it's kind of it's partly some new capabilities on something that's been around for a while. So if you use the Microsoft Edge browser, Copilot Chat has basically, that's been the Copilot that's been in the Edge browser for about a year now, right? It's completely free. You can open it up, you can ask questions, you can create blogs with it, you can create documents with it, you can do web research with it. That is now also available in Microsoft Teams. So if your organization isn't paying for any Copilot at all right now, you still have Copilot Chat. And I can tell you, if you're not doing anything with AI yet, if you take the time just to play with that, it's the first thing we played with, right? Or back when it was called OpenAI or ChatGPT, it's basically the same engine that's running Copilot. And even though it's not using your own data, the power of working with that, if you've never worked with a generative AI tool before, is mind-blowingly powerful. So if you're looking for something where you're like, wow, those all sound wonderful, but we're not paying for any licenses at all right now and I want to get started, go get the Microsoft Edge browser if you don't have it yet. Start playing around with Copilot in that. Or if you have Microsoft Teams, you should see a Copilot icon on the far left-hand side, and that's going to be Copilot Chat, because everyone with Microsoft 365 gets that at no additional cost.
So one thing that I imagine people are going to have questions about, Jeff, specifically in this presentation, is you had talked about getting ready immediately and not having too many prerequisites in order to implement Copilot. But then there's also the benefits of kind of road mapping and planning out that process. So can you talk a little bit more about that tension that somebody might be having to your comments there?
Yeah, great question. So the way I think about it is this. There's an old book and even philosophy called Fire, Aim, Ready, right? The conventional thinking is ready, aim, fire. But fire, aim, ready basically means we can do some light, low-cost experimentation to see if something's going to work before we spend a lot of time implementing it. And we have found that strategy works really, really well with Copilot. So here's what I mean by that. Fire basically means, look, go get some licenses for a small cohort of people. Maybe you already have some, but they haven't adopted it yet. Great. You've gotten the first step taken care of. Now, put a little program up against them to go, let's do some training. Let's get you up to speed with some use cases. Let's give you a little center of excellence to support you with training and expertise and those kinds of things to prove out the value of this, right? We haven't done any of the ready yet at all. All we've done is fire. Then move over to, now let's get ready. Let's take all that great knowledge and momentum and let's use that to start to get ready to move forward. What I find, maybe this will offer some other helpful perspective, is it seems like a lot of companies are on each end of the balancing scale there. One end is fire, and they're stuck in fire, 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 but they never do the ready aim, right? They're like, wow, that was great. People really liked it. I guess we're good. Let's move on to the next shiny object. But if they look over their shoulder after a year or two, they realize even those initial people they trained, they've stopped adopting, right? We've seen this all the time. That's why we created a whole offering called a Center of Excellence and a roadmap to get people to the other side of it. The other extreme of that we run into a lot of times is plan, 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 plan. We're not doing anything yet, but we really want to make sure our systems are secure and we've got this great plan and vision before we start moving forward. What I can tell you from experience with that is if you haven't done a little bit of fire first, you're not going to know how to plan. You won't have the vision to understand what that might work like. But it seems like most companies are in one of those extremes or the others without coming to the center and going, let's fire, and then let's do some ready. Let's actually have some center of excellence, and aim. Let's have a roadmap. That's where those things work together very, very well. We see a lot of companies that jump right into we want to do something unique. Right, so there's all these. I showed you the 100 use cases are available. Install the license, turn it on. You can start using those use cases right away. We run into a lot of companies who completely jump over the top of that and go, but we want to build a custom Copilot to do X. And we love building custom Copilots. We think that's great. But if you're going to go spend, 50, 100, $250,000, whatever it is, trying to build this really nice custom Copilot when you haven't even taken the time to get the value out of the ones that are available to you out of the box, you're really missing the boat. You're trying to kind of go a little bit too far. So if you find yourself over there, it might be time to come back and go, maybe a little bit of training over here will actually help us to be better positioned to build these custom agents a little more effectively in the future.
So we do have a question from Garrett. He says, the ChatGPT app has a voice mode, allowing me to converse with it 100% verbally. I think we're going to get into Allie as my co-pilot maybe with how this question is panning out. He says, have you heard of Copilot having this capability eventually? Our company has a specific use case for this, allowing salespeople to prepare for a sales call and research an account while driving. Windshield quote time is mostly wasted time currently, and bringing value to these time slots would be very beneficial.
So great question. Aastha may have some more perspective on this too, but one thing I can tell you is the consumer version of Copilot. So that's a free version of Copilot. If you go download it on your phone, that actually has voice mode in it already. Now that's not grounded in your data, so your salesperson, won't be able to do things like pull information in from their CRM solution or update that information, but it does have that voice mode built into it, very much like ChatGPT has that built into it right now as well. And it's powerful. I've actually used it to do things like go over a slide deck like this and have it give me feedback. And it's amazing, right? Have a salesperson say, hey, let me go through my pitch about this product with you, and it'll give you feedback for it. I can also tell you that Copilot Studio also has the ability to build a voice-based bot in it right now. It's not very powerful or well developed yet, but it's out there as an experimental thing that you can work with. And also, we actually have 2 clients working with us right now we're building a text-based bot, but on the roadmap is converting it into a voice bot. If Copilot Studio is not there and able to do that for us by the time they're ready to do it, Azure AI's AI builder components actually have very well developed voice capabilities, both voice recognition and responding with voice built right into it. And of course, once you're going to Azure, you're in more of a pro developer scenario, not a low code, no code developer, but the sky's the limit. And you can do amazing things with that. People have built those exact kind of bots with the Azure AI framework already. Great question. And I think that's the future. The people who are on the cutting edge are going to be doing some of those things.
I think Jeff covered it all. I was going to say how we have that voice capability in Copilot Studio where we can optimize for voice. Now, it would be great if we could do that in Copilot for Sales and Copilot for Service. And I'm pretty sure this is something that will be coming in the upcoming roadmap. But I think Jeff covered it all.
So we do have another question here. Jeremy says, Microsoft reminds us to double check the answers. How can we trust an agent, quote, to actually do work for us when I can't trust the answer from Copilot? Any comments on trusting the data and how to gain real productivity without having to verify all of the results would be great to hear.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I always say this when I'm demoing this to the customer because, again, this is Copilot, so it is acting as a second chair. We always want to have that human touch in there just to make sure that everything that we're sending the customer makes sense. We're not saying that the data may not be correct. It's just to double check that everything that we're sending to the client makes sense. And it's understandable that organizations may have concerns about, security or integrating AI technologies into like Copilot, but Microsoft has implemented multiple protections to address those concerns, right? So we include blocking harmful content, detecting and protecting against sensitive material exposure. So we're taking care of all of that, but at the same time, we're making sure that you do not lose that human touch when responding to clients. So they feel like the conversations are coming from me as Aastha, not Aastha Copilot, Jeff, if there's anything else you want to add to that.
Well, the only couple of things I'd add to it is, although the question asked, Microsoft reminds us, remember, this is generative AI. No matter whose generative AI you're using, it's a best practice to check the response because they all have that propensity. The other thing is there are a lot of scenarios where you will, at least when I'm using it, where it will respond and I will say, I know that that's factually true. It's validated it for me, right? But I, as the expert, also know that that's true. And Copilot does a very good job of saying, here are the documents that I got that knowledge from. Click those documents if in doubt to go double check the answers without having to go do a whole separate search, right? So it's giving you the knowledge and it's giving you a shortcut to go verify it if in doubt.
We are going to go ahead and close today. Do you want to wrap us up, Jeff?
Sure, absolutely. So we've thrown this final slide up here. I referenced a couple of these sessions earlier. If you have a hunger to go further with AI or just with digital transformation, coming up in March is the AI Agent and Copilot Summit in San Diego, bottom left of this form. At the top of it is 365 Leadership Summit coming up in September. And by the way, we have a special running in partnership with the folks at DCI who run all these summit events, where if you register for 365 Leadership Summit by March 15th, you will actually get a free voucher to go to AI Agent and Copilot Summit in March. So register by March, you get a voucher for both events. You can send 2 different people to them if you want to. You go to the c5n.co/leader, sign up for that event just like you normally would, and we'll get right back in touch with you to find out who do you want us to set up the voucher for AI and Copilot Summit Day as well. So the blue event, that's more leadership. The AI and Copilot Summit event in the bottom left-hand corner, that's more of the hands-on, I want to know what's going on with AI and Copilot and learn about it. Some people might be the right audience for both. Some you might send 2 different people from your organization to each one. Hope to see you at some of those and hope to have some good follow-up conversations with some of you as well.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Don't forget, we have an AI assessment. If you want to take 2 minutes of your time, we're letting you off 3 minutes early. So if you go to this link here, you'll be able to make the best use of your hour from this webinar. And we will be happy to follow up with you and talk more about where you are in your AI journey. So that's c5n.co/AI-assessment. Thanks so much and hope to see you for our next Copilot webinar.